Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be making a platformer in JavaScript from scratch. And by from scratch, I mean there will be nothing that you'll need to install at all. All you need for JavaScript is some way of editing text and your imagination. And when I say some way of editing text, that could be Notepad for all it matters. You could use Notepad++, but I'm going to be using Atom. If you want Atom, you'll need to install it, but you don't have to. Like I said, you could use Notepad. So, now it's been a while since I've done anything in JavaScript from scratch like this. So in another tab, I have a platform example that I've already done before this video so that I can look at just in case I mess up, because I feel like it's going to happen. So all you need is a text editor and something like Google Chrome or Firefox or any browser. So go to your desktop or wherever you want this, do new folder, and I'm going to call it Platformer YouTube because I already have a platformer file. Open it up, and in here we can do a right click, new, and you can't see that, but you do new text document, and then we're going to rename this to index and then .html. Now, as you saw, it showed the .txt extension. Now, if you don't see that .txt, and here, let me show you again, create a new file, you'll see right here there's this .txt. Now, you might not see that. So if you go up here to view, on the right it'll say file name extension. That might be unchecked, and when that's unchecked you can't see that. So just go there, make sure it's checked, and then you can edit the extension to be a .html. So I'll delete that. Well, actually I shouldn't delete that because you need to create another one and change this one to main.js, short for JavaScript. It'll ask you if you want to, or are you sure? You say yes. There we go. Now, if you just want to use Notepad, fine by me. Right click, open with Notepad. If you want to use Notepad++, it'll say edit with Notepad++, or you can open with, choose another apps, yada yada. But I'm going to use Atom because that's what I know. So I'm going to right click, do that, and then hopefully it'll open up. Actually, I'll need to open it up in a different tab because I have Atom already opened, so it likes to be weird sometimes. So just give me a second. Let this open. I'm going to edit that out because that took a while to open. So here we go. Index.html. I have this open. So what you're going to do in here is you're going to, oh, whoops. I should probably switch to it so you can actually see it. Oh, here we go. Index.html, I have it open. Now I'm going to type in these carets, which starts for, and then another set of carets. So in this first one, I'm going to type in HTML, and this means begin HTML. And if I do \HTML, this means end HTML. Just a little bit of HTML syntax, I suppose. I don't know if that's really what you're supposed to call it, but that's what I call it. So I'm going to type in begin head, and then \end head, and then here begin script. And I'm going to do this one on the same line. So begin script, end script. Okay, so here we go. So in this script here, if you push space, you can add in some properties, I suppose. And for script, there's a property called src, and we set it equal to quotations, and this is just short for source, and this is going to be a source JavaScript file. So if I type in main.js, now it's importing essentially this main.js file that I have. So I'm going to open up this main.js file, and I can do a test saying console.log hello world. Okay, there we go. Now go to your browser of choice. I already have this open, so I'm going to type in Google, and you don't need to type in Google. I'm just going to go here for some reason. I'm going to do Control 0 or Control O for like the letter O, and then go to desktop and find wherever you had your file. So platform YouTube index.html, open that up and it'll be a blank screen. So if you push Control Alt I, or is it Control Shift I, Control Shift I, it'll open up this console and it'll say hello world. There we go. So you can come back here now that we know that this is working. So this first video, as the title may or may not say, is going to be dedicated to the actual physical drawing of everything. So this is like the setup video. So we need a canvas to draw to. So, and a canvas is sort of like a piece of paper that you're drawing on. So we're going to create this piece of paper. So I'm going to come back to this HTML file. I'm going to begin canvas and then end canvas. And this canvas has some properties. So the only property I need is an ID, and the ID is important so that we can reference it in our JavaScript code. So you can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call it my canvas. And there we go. Now if we go back to this main.js file, I can actually get a reference to that canvas. So var canvas, you can call this whatever you want, but I'm going to call it canvas so that it's good naming conventions. And then document.get element, element, I can spell, by, then capital ID, and then brackets or parentheses, quotes, and then my canvas, whatever you named it. There we go. Now we need a reference to what JavaScript calls a context. I like to call it a renderer. So var render, you can call it context if that's easier for you. Hell, you could call it the letter R or the letter C if you wanted to. But I'm gonna call it render. And this is essentially, well, if the canvas is the piece of paper, the render is the pencil that's drawing on it. So this is the pencil essentially. So canvas, and then we're gonna say canvas dot get context, and then parentheses, quotes, 2D, because we're drawing in two dimensions, or 2D. You can do 3D, but that's beyond what I want to do right now. Okay, so now we should have this canvas. You won't be able to see the canvas right now, but that's what's coming next. So we want to be able to draw to this. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to right click, new file, and I'm going to call this drawer.js. Okay, now if I come to your files here, if you aren't using Atom, all you got to do is right click, do a new text document, and rename it to drawer.js, and then open it up to edit. So I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to come back to Atom, and then now we can create some functions that that draw. But first we have to go, well, I'll save that for later. You'll see an error, but that's fine. It's a good learning experience. So the first thing we'll want to draw is, how about a rectangle? So we'll make a function called a rectangle. This is going to take an x and a y, a width and a height, essentially. So we're going to have the x and y will be the top left position of the rectangle, and then the width and height is, well, the width and the height of the rectangle. So what we'll do here is, let me just make sure I'm doing this right, because I don't want to get it wrong and then lead you astray. Okay, so render, so we're taking the pencil and we're going to begin path. In fact, it might have been better if I had called it pencil, just so my analogy holds up. But render.begin path, oh, nothing goes in there, and then render.rect, which is its own function for drawing a rectangle. And this we just need to pass an x, y, width, and height. Pretty simple. Render.fill, render.stroke. So what's this doing? Begin path, I'm a little iffy on what it's doing, but that's essentially starting the draw, and then rectangle is going to define where to draw, and then this fill is going to fill in that area with a color. Then stroke is going to make a stroke, like an outline. A stroke is like an outline, the border of the rectangle. So that's what that's doing. Okay, so if I come here to main, let's try this. Let's try this function out. Rectangle, and we'll do it at the position 25, 25 with a size of 50 and 50 and 100. Okay, if I come back to my browser and I refresh, reference rectangle is not defined. So that's the error I was talking about. Now rectangle is this function here, so why isn't it defined? Well, if you go to the index.html, we are using the script main.js, but we don't ever include the drawer.js. So I'm going to copy and paste this line, script src. I'm going to change this to drawer.js. So now we're using this file here as well as the main file. So if I come here, refresh, there we go. We have a rectangle that's, well, rectangular. But what if we want to change the colors? So come to the drawer, we'll create a function we'll set the fill color, and this is going to be taking an RGB value. And if you don't know how RGB values work, essentially you have a, well, it's sort of for red, green, blue. And you make a color by saying each R is a value from 0 to 255, G is a value from 0 to 255, and blue is a value from 0 to 255. And you mix these colors together. So if you want to make yellow and oranges, you would do some red and some green. If you want to make pinks and purples, you would mix blue and red together to get those colors. And so if you want to make white, you would mix all three colors together. So you'd go 255, 255, 255. If you want to make black, you would have 0, 0, 0. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you guys already understand a little bit about RGB, but if not, we'll just follow along and hopefully it'll start to make sense. Or if it doesn't make sense, you can look up other tutorials about how RGB works. Okay, so fill color. So this one's fairly easy. So if I wanted to normally change the color, I would say render dot, I believe it's fill style, style, equals quotes, and you'd say RGB, and I'd say 125, 0, 255, let's say. And that's how I would normally do it. However, I want to use these RGB values that I'm passing in. Oh, and you can kind of see that it highlighted purple there. I have this add-on for Atom that highlights it whatever color it is. So this specific color is like this purpley color. But okay, back to what I was saying. We want to use, instead of just these values, we want to use the RGB values that we pass in. But we're passing in numbers, and this takes in a string. So the first thing we need to do is we need to convert these numbers to strings. So R equals string R, G equals string G, and B equals string blue. There we go. So let me delete this, and this is going to be equal to RGB, and then 1 parenthesis, and then I'm going to add or append R, and then I'm going to add a comma, add the G value, add another comma, add the blue value, and then add that last parenthesis. So what this will look like, so what that will end up being is if R was 255, we'll say, and then it would be RGB, so that beginning part plus this 255 plus a comma. Let's say green is 0, so it would be like that. And then let's say blue was 125. Whoops, this was supposed to be add a comma, and then we would add that last bracket. And then this would end up looking like RGB 255, 0, 125. So all together, these get added together and put into one little string, that makes this one big string, essentially. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So there we go. We have that. So now if I come into main, I can say fill color. Let's use that color that I just had. 255, 0, 125, I believe. Okay, now if I come back here, hopefully, there we go. We get that pinkish color. I'm looking at the screen or the recording in the left and it looks red. Hopefully it doesn't look red on your screen. But it doesn't matter. It's pink. It's pink for me. It's hopefully pink for you. Okay. So now let's go back to this. You can maybe see that there's a black stroke around it. Well, let's make it so we can change the stroke color as well. So if we don't want it black, what do we want? Not accidentally tabbing out of everything. That's not what I wanted to do. Hold on. Okay, I think I'm good now. That was my bad. Drawer. Okay, so changing the stroke color, so easy. I'm just going to copy all of this, paste it, and rename it to stroke color, and then down where it says render fill style, I'm going to say render.stroke style. Really, it's that easy. So I want to say stroke color, and we'll make this green. So 0, 255, 0. So now if I come here, I refresh. It's a little hard and faint to see. I can barely see it, but there is a slight green outline. So it's faint, it's small. So let's make a function that changes the stroke size. So how thick the stroke is. And I mean extra thick. Function stroke size. So we're going to pass in some size value, and that'll be what we set it to. So render dot line width, I believe. Line width equals, and normally you would pass in a string like 50 or 25, but size is going to be a number. So we need to say string, turn it into a string, so string size. Okay, if you go to main, I can say stroke size 4 pixels. If I come back here, refresh, now it's thicker, easier to see that it is in fact a green outline. Okay, so let's create something with this rectangle, like a background. So we want to change the background color of this. So right now the background's white, which is kind of boring for our game. We want a different color. So how do you do that? What you'd want to do is you'd want to just essentially draw a colored rectangle over the entire screen, and that's actually all you're doing. So we'll create a function called background, and we'll have it give an RGB value so we can set the background to any color, and all this is going to do is going to draw a rectangle over the entire screen. So first we'll set the fill color to 250, to RGB. We'll set the color, and then we'll do a rectangle. Sorry, I was thinking for a second. Rectangle, and the top left will be at 0, 0, and then the width and the height needs to be the width and height of the screen. But we don't know the width and the height of the screen because we never set it. So this would be like, what's the width and the height of the paper? So the width and the height of the paper, well, again, we didn't set the size of the paper, so let's do that. Let's create a variable for the width, and then a variable for the height, and then we'll set these. So width equals window.inner width. We'll get to that soon. 500 height equals 500. Pretend I didn't do that whole window.inner width thing. You'll see what that is later. So we'll set those numbers, and then we say canvas.width equals width, and canvas.height equals height. Okay, now in the drawer, I can just draw the rectangle using that width and height variables. Now if I come here, refresh. Oh, well, of course it's not going to work. I didn't actually use the background variable. So if I come here and I say background, and I'll set this to a very dark background, close to black, not quite black. If I refresh, there we go. We have this black rectangle. This is the size of the paper right now. However, we want this to fill the entire screen. So that's what I was going to do before was window.inner width. This is how you get the width of the screen. Window.inner height. Okay, if I come here now, I come here, refresh. Now it is the size of the window. However, you'll see these scrolly bars here that we don't like, we don't want, we want to get rid of those. Why are they there? Well, in the top, or the left and the top, there's these white little margins that are there. So the paper isn't quite at the corner, which is why we have this scroll bar, because it's being, like, I guess, pushed out a little more than it should be. So we don't want that. We want to set the position to be at exactly, the position of the paper to be at exactly 0, 0 on the screen. No margins, no nothing. So what we do is we say canvas.style.left equals quotes 0px. 0px means 0 pixels. So we're setting the left position to be at 0 pixels. Canvas.style.top equals also 0 pixels. And then canvas.style, style.position equals absolute. So it needs to be an absolute position, which I'm not 100% sure what that means, but it seems to work. So let me actually refresh. I was pushing the wrong button. So if I refresh, there we go. There's no scroll bars, there's no margin, it's working perfectly. So now, but now we have this one last problem with this, which is if I ever resize the screen or change the size of it, it doesn't update the actual size of the paper. The paper needs to dynamically change as the screen changes. So let me go back to the script and I will make a function. Well, change a function, I suppose, but you'll know what I mean. Window dot on resize equals a function. If I could spell function correctly, brackets, and then curly brackets. So this is saying everything inside of these curly brackets is everything that happens whenever the window gets changed, whenever this window gets resized. So what all I have to do is take these 4 lines of code. I'm going to Control X and I'm going to put them right there. I'm going to indent them, and there we go. That's all I needed to do for now. You'll see what I mean by for now in a second. If I come here and I refresh, well, that's weird. The background, for one, the background isn't being drawn. For 2, what's it called? Well, the background's not being drawn. And the reason for that is it will change if we resize it. But wait a minute, nothing happened. You know, everything got disappeared. Everything's acting crazy. What's going on? Well, first of all, this only gets called when the screen is resized, which means it's not called right when we reload the page. It doesn't get called. So let's just call that now, on resize. So we're just going to call that function right off the bat, first thing. So, because we want it to be called at least once at the start. So if I refresh it, okay, now we see the background, and we still see the rectangle. But if I resize the page, oh no, everything disappears. And that's because whenever you change the size of the paper, essentially everything on the paper gets erased. So I can take everything here and just paste it there. Well, that'll work for now, but it's going to work for now. So we do this, and if I resize it, the reason this is working is because now every time we resize it, we also redraw everything. So now it's working. Eventually that'll all disappear because we're going to have a loop that continuously redraws everything anyway, so it'll be fine. But for now, we'll just leave that all there. Okay, we're just about done. I want to add some more functions that I've already predicted that we'll probably might need or that you might want later down the line. And so we're going to just add them now, so get them out of the way. So first off, we have a way of setting the color of the fill and the color of the stroke. However, wait, do we have a way? Yeah, okay, stroke color. For a second I thought we didn't have that. But what if we don't want to have a fill or don't want to have a stroke? Well, that sounds very weird to say, don't want to have a stroke. Like I'm thinking, when I say that, I think of a different kind of stroke. But, tangent, sorry. Function, no stroke. Again, I think of something else when I say that. Okay, let me just give myself some more room there. So what I can do is render.strokeStyle equals, and this time I'm going to say RGBA, and what is A? A stands for alpha. If something has 0 alpha, then it will not be seen no matter what. Alpha is how opaque something is, how much alpha it has, how transparent it is. So like glass is very transparent. If you're looking through very foggy water, then that's like kind of opaque but not very opaque. I hope that makes sense. So I can just set the color to black, but then this fourth argument I can add is how opaque it is. So if I give it 0, that means it's perfectly clean glass. You can see directly through it. It's as if it's not even there. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I'm going to create a function, no fill. I'm going to do the same thing, render.fillStyle this time. I just realized I spelled this wrong. It's T-Y-L-E. Fill style equals RGBA. Whoops, 0, 0, 0, 0. Sorry if my screen's lagging a bit. I assume it's the recording, but I don't know. But hopefully it's fine. Hopefully it's not too bad. Function. Okay. Oh, sorry. I should probably test these first, huh? So if I go to main, instead of giving this rectangle a stroke, or what was that? Yeah, well, instead of giving it a fill, I'll say no fill. Now if I come back here, there's no fill. It's just a green outline. Okay. I'm going to assume the stroke one works too. So now I want to draw a line. So function line. So just a function to draw a line from one point to another. So x1, y1, x2, y2. Because this line needs 2 points, the starting point and the end point. So I can do line. So the way this line works is kind of weird. I don't understand why JavaScript works this way. It's something called like turtle mode or turtle drawing. I don't know. Render.begin, or sorry, no, I was looking at something else. Move to x1, y1. So it's like when I said turtle mode, imagine this. You have a turtle with a pencil on its butt, like it's taped to the butt. So the turtle moves to this position, x1, y1, and now dot line to x2, y2. Now the turtle, the pencil is going to touch the paper, and he is going to start from this position and walk to this position. And that's essentially how it works. And then I can say render.stroke, meaning that the pencil is going to emit pen ink or whatever. Sorry, that sounded weird. Okay, function. One last function. Well, you know what? I'll test out the line first. I will give this a stroke. I'll give this line a stroke color, so it's something different. Color of 255.00, so full red, and then I'll do a line from 50, 100 to the position 25, 300. It's just some random numbers. If I refresh this now, We have this. And you notice I'm not sure why the rectangle turned red too, which is quite peculiar. So let me see something. If I go to drawer and I go to the rectangle, I probably did something wrong. One sec. Well, I learned something new in this. So the problem was, I completely forgot, render dot begin path. So I forgot that little piece of code which was supposed to be there. I think I started typing it, but then I completely blanked out and removed it. But I've realized what this does. This actually takes whatever path was being drawn before, in this case it was a rectangle, and stops drawing it and then begins a new one. So if I come here and I refresh now, we got a green box and a red line. Okay, sorry about that. So now I can do a function, one last function, I promise. So we'll do a circle. This is going to take an x, a y, and a radius, which is just the size of the circle. How big is the circle? Let's remember this render.begin path this time. And then render.fill, render.stroke, and then between begin path and fill, we're going to do render.arc. Yes, arc. We're going to do x, y radius, and then 0, 2 times math.pi, where pi is capitalized. What is that doing? That is, well, an arc isn't technically a full circle. An arc is a part of a circle. So if you know anything about radians are just essentially degrees, angles. So we're going to start at an angle of 0, and we're going to draw an arc, so a part of the circle that is 2 pi long, which is an entire circle. So we're just essentially drawing an entire circle. So sorry if that's confusing. If I want to draw half a circle, I would just do 1 times pi. But since I want to do full circle, I'll do 2 pi. If you know that math equation, trigonometry, I didn't really like that class, but it's fine. It's fine. So let's go to the main. We'll do a circle. We'll do one more thing. We'll just do one circle. Circle. We'll do the point at 200, 200 with a size of 75, 67, because it's what I accidentally typed. Come here, refresh. There we go. We have it. It's set to red though because that was the last stroke color that I set it to. I could say no stroke, and then set the fill color to blue, 00225. We'll set it actually to a kind of a light blue. So there we go. Refresh, and there we go. As a light blue color with no stroke. If I wanted a stroke, I could just stroke color and give it a red 25500. Red stroke. Come here, refresh. There we go. We are done. Okay, so that's it. I just want to get this drawing stuff out there first. Maybe in a much later tutorial, I'll show you how to do images. But you need to install something if you want to do images. You need to install Python, essentially. But for now, we're just going to do this kind of stuff, just rectangles for our drawing platforms. But next time, we'll be making a player. Well, maybe, I believe a player, and maybe some physics, some gravity. I don't know yet. But until next time, see ya.